Welcome to another episode of the Elevated Barbers podcast. My name is Bradford Kelly, and I'm sitting here with the Royal One himself. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
This is Delmar, the Prince, owner of Royal Lux Grooming and co-host of Elevated Barbers.
Yes. And if y'all don't know, Royal Lux Grooming is his barbering studio. Do you call it a studio? What do you call it?
It's a studio
It's a
for now.
studio
For
for
now,
now.
yeah.
Yeah. So Royal Lux Grooming is his barbering studio in which he puts out royal experiences for all of his clientele. Another level of barbering is the name of my barber facility as well. It's a studio, but I got two chairs. I just don't have another barber right now. Trying to
It was supposed to be me.
It should be you. It really should. It should honestly be you because you're the only barber so far that I know that can go where I'm trying to go, and just it would be a great partnership. So if your wife is watching, consider a move. But nah, you just based on where you live at, it just wouldn't be. I don't know. It might not be the best decision. You got a lot of weight that you carry. So I got a quick question for you, man. I was just thinking about this just throughout my week, and I was thinking about the podcast and just really pondering on just the way that our viewers connect with us and different things that we deal with on a week to week basis. So what was uh, an impactful thing that happened to you this week? It's been a while since we've seen each other, and episode 3 was a whole week ago. The people haven't
Right.
heard from you. They haven't
No,
heard
they
from you.
haven't. They haven't.
So what's been something impactful that happened to you this week?
Uh, so the thought of action took place this week, but the initial conversation within myself took place about a month ago. When I went out of town, I just felt like I needed a reset from everything. Just kind of put my life back on balance. And I've been thinking a lot about the past few weeks, just trying to minimize or um, seclude myself. I guess that's the correct word to use. Seclude myself from distractions. Um, and I've been doing a lot of thinking and planning, but you know, last week I actually started doing. So
Mm,
I started putting some action into play just because I feel like I'm not where I would like to be in this moment.
mm-hmm.
And the things that I call distractions are basically, you have your things that you do like, but also at the same time, like, I don't feel this is just me on the personal note. I don't feel that I qualify to be distracted right now.
Mm,
So, in order um, y- to better myself, I have to get rid of some distractions and to um, basically surround myself with some things that are going to add value to me
yeah,
instead of spending time with a lot of time wasters.
yeah. And there's a lot of
So
different things that can do that too.
yeah, easily, and you won't even know it. Just simple as downloading games on your phone or being on social media too long or
Mm-hmm.
uh, being on YouTube, but you're not searching up anything that is informational or impactful.
Yeah.
So um, I just basically I wanted to buckle down, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna start this week, and I just started making plans to get rid of some distractions. So
Okay.
I want to see how much I can grow and how far I can go in doing so, in doing getting rid of distractions and just really focusing more.
I like that, man. You had a powerful week. I see like life changing events happen for you. So that's good. For me, man, it's also about action. And it's about what I call the difference between like the level up mindset and the growth mindset. And for me and my experience, there's a difference in regards to the growth mindset. The growth mindset is like your awareness of the fact that something needs to change. Your awareness and your consciousness towards a difference needs to be made, but you don't really always know what it is. You're just always focused on you and maybe where you're not, but you don't know where to also go. And even if you do know where you want to go, you don't know how to get there. And the difference between that mindset, because you know that you need to grow, you know that, but then there's the other side of the execution or the take action side of it. And for me, I call that the level up mindset, where a person is being conscious of where they need to go, but they're willing to take the actions necessary to get to the destination. They're not just thinking about it, they're not just knowing that they need to grow, but they actually are taking steps forward to their own growth. And one of mine is posting on social media daily and just getting something out there and learning how to be more strategic at it. And so I came to that realization last week. I was just like, man, I just need to post once a day, at least once a day. And it's like, yeah, just posting once a day. I could go all into the reasons why, but just a simple act of just being consistent in something is going to be helpful for me. So those are two nice impactful things that happened to us this week. But I think it does kind of add to the conversation topic for today. And today, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and do that. Like and subscribe and share with as many people as you feel would benefit from hearing two barbers with a lot of experience kind of talk about the different scenarios that they've grown through. And you might know your own personal barber and you like, hey, man, like this would be a good podcast for you. This is interesting for me as your client, so go ahead and do that. But yeah, please share. We are trying to grow this community and feel like this is a safe space. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this is a safe space for people to come and enjoy themselves and have some value input into their life instead of just, the random things that people listen to on the internet, YouTube.
Yeah, and that's this is why we put this podcast together, because even though it's geared towards barbers, obviously the name is Elevated Barbers, but I feel like if you're in the entrepreneur space, like there's a lot of things that you can take from both of us as well, because not only are we barbers, but we are also entrepreneurs first.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right, man. So that's going to lead into this topic for today. Today's topic is not geared only towards barbers, but it does have a lot to do with the clients and the barbers because one, there's a difference between the demographic of people that are in the Bay Area, in California specifically, as well as Louisiana, Baton Rouge. You in Baton Rouge, or what are you in Gonzales?
I'm in Gonzales, but you might as well say Baton Rouge, bro, because
All
nobody
right,
gonna know what Gonzales is. They gonna think
okay,
you're talking about Texas or Mexico.
okay. So all right, let's call it a Baton Rouge, Gonzales area. So there's just different people. Um, and the market that barbering is in right now. When I say the market, I mean the the price points, the space in which we are from a perception standpoint, from a reality standpoint, and that's the where the price points are and where we are inside the market and where we are in regards to people's perception of their pocketbook and how much they're about to be paying for the services that we provide. And the temperature in the industry right now is a little wild. It's a little wild. It could be a little, it's all over the place. But we need to talk about its reality right now. The price points. Everybody's kind of going up on their prices, and we mentioned it a little bit last episode. And I think we should probably dive deeper into this topic about the price points and how people go up on their prices, when people go up on their prices, probably some best practices, but also some of the negative sides of how you do what you do, because it can definitely impact your business. But then even like the client, the way the clients look at you and the relationship that they have with you. So this is a lot to talk about. I don't even know if this is a specific topic specifically. Like I just named a whole bunch of stuff, but let's just go. Let's start it with this perception of the $100 haircut. Let's talk about that. Let's go into that. And the temperature in the industry is that, I think Jalen Rose said something on an interview one time, and all the barbers rallied behind him, and they were just he was talking about how, you know if you want a quality barber, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, I can't remember what he said specifically, but pretty much, if you want a quality barber in today's time, he's like, we in 2023, and it should be no less than $100.
Hmm.
So, what's your thoughts? Talk to me.
Uh, Man, that's kind of hard to answer that because obviously, Jaylee can afford $100 haircut consistently. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I myself, I do have a service that is $100,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a full service. Come with the cut, the beard, razor, shampoo, and the permanent hair dye, permanent color.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I feel like if you're getting all that, and then other barbers may disagree with me, but I feel like that's definitely $100 haircut if I'm doing all that. If I'm because those are different services. Color is a separate service in its own. Doing the face is a different service in its own. Shampoo is a different service in its own. So, um, and I know you have more to say about that, but I charge 100 for that service, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm charging for the amount of quality. I'm charging for the amount of time that goes into that service. Um, and I'm charging for the products that I'm using also because I'm not using a cheap hair dye to put in your hair to use as an enhancement. The stuff that I'm using is going to last you for 5 to 7 days. You can sweat; it's not coming out. You ain't got to worry about no black sweat dripping on your face.
Right.
This is the real deal stuff, and there's other products that you can use out there that's cheaper, but for me and for how I want my clients to look, I choose to use the more expensive stuff because it's quality. And
Yeah.
at Royal X Grooming, I'm the prince, and we pride ourselves on being, quality over quantity.
Yeah.
So, but I do feel that if you really want a nice, I'll say this because what I was about to say wasn't gonna make sense, but I feel that if you want somebody who's professional, consistent, the environment is good, quality service, you are going to have to spend a little bit more money than you typically would if you were going to a place that doesn't provide all of that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we use booking apps now. We have websites. There's so much that goes into barbering than just you sitting in a barber's chair and you're getting the cut or you getting the service. Like there's so much that goes on outside of the chair, outside of the shop, outside of the suite that I feel that as barbers we deserve the respect. We deserve, to be paid a little bit more if you're going about it in a professional manner. I'm not talking about somebody who just, they show up whenever they want to or they leave whenever they want to. I'm talking about a barber who's honestly dedicated. They're putting time into their craft. They're spending money on education outside of their craft. Like there's a lot that goes on outside of the chair. So what's your take on that, Brad?
No, I'm with you, man. I I think what when we're dealing with prices, we are really fighting against the perception of what barbering has been. Like us as an industry, we're moving into a different space in the
Hmm.
minds of people, but a lot of people still look down on the profession. It's
Hmm.
like it's looked at as, you're not doing nothing but some oil changes. You're not doing nothing but ringing out a client or two. Like it's not a respected industry,
No, it's not. And it's
and
gotten better, but it's
it's gotten
still not
better.
where it's
But it's
supposed to be.
yeah, like and this is like a holistic perspective, right? I'm not talking about individuals. I'm
Hmm.
talking about, like, if you just look at the way society views barbers, it's really not respected. And even some things that have happened recently within the last couple years is the qualifications to be a barber or to be a cosmetologist. They've lowered the bar. so that it's less hours to get your license. You don't
Mhm.
have to do as many services or know how to do as many services as you used to. And this is a good thing and it's a negative thing at the same point, because it's so easy to become a barber, it invalidates your ability to quote unquote be premium, because
Mhm.
anybody can do your job, so to speak. That's what they're saying. Versus it's a specialized craft.
Right.
So I remember seeing this happen in the nursing industry, where in 2003, 2004, or really between 2000 and 2004, I was noticing a lot of people become nurses. A lot of people become nurses because it was so easy to become a nurse and you could make good money, close to
Mhm.
doctor money as a nurse, but it was super easy to do it. And so what the government did is they changed the qualifications to become a nurse, but made it a premium. So it became harder to become a nurse. It wasn't just as easy as it was. And what it did is it shifted how many people were going to be able to become nurses, and therefore it qualified them just on entry. Like, you gonna make a good amount of money because you're dealing with people's health, and they look at you as an important. I think even during the pandemic they called it essential workers.
Mhm.
And so we were deemed as non-essential workers in this
Mhm.
profession, and therefore we weren't treated the same way. But yet, to our clients, we are essential.
Mhm.
From the government perspective, they might not look at you as essential, but from your client's perspective, they look at you as essential. But because the nature of the industry is changing, people still look at barbers the way that they see the movie Barbershop.
Mhm.
They look at the beauty shop and they look at that, and that's the representation of what the barber is. It's like it's a wholesome, or I don't even, that's not the word, homely. I think the word I want to use is like homely. It's just like a down to earth job that you did because you couldn't do nothing else.
Right.
And you can talk, and you have some skill at cutting hair, but what you're doing is not that important.
Right.
And that perception minimizes the 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 ease that a person can have to spend money with you because of how they perceive it.
Mhm.
And so when it comes to like the $100 haircut, I'm a fan of people striving to get to that point. I would one day want to get to that point. I'm not there, close, but not there. But it goes into, like what you were saying, so many other aspects than just the service that I provide, that I honestly believe that I'm undercharging for what I do, and for where I do it at, and for how I do it, and for my consistency, and for my dependability, and for the quality that you receive, and for all the products that I'm using, and for the equipment that I'm using. Like, I feel like I'm undercharging for what I'm providing, but at the same point in time, I personally try to never gauge how I'm feeling and project it on my clients. It just force things to happen. But I realize that the clients are what's going to deem your worth or not. We can dictate the price, we can set the price, we can say whatever we want to say from that perspective, but they're going to tell you whether or not you're worth it.
Right.
And if you can pay your bills and live the life that you want based on the price that you dictate, then your clients are telling you that you're worth it, because whatever they are willing to pay for, is it shows you your worth. But you
Mhm.
can say, oh, this is my price point, and then you realize like 90% of your people stop coming, or they come way less than
Mhm.
what they were coming before, and therefore now the frequency of money is starting to spread out, and your week to week income is lowering because now people are not coming weekly, they're coming every 2 weeks, or you got your 2 weeks people that's coming in once a month now, if they
Mhm.
even still trying to rock with you. And then you got some people that's just like, hey, you didn't price me out,
Right.
I'm not coming to you no more. And so, not because they don't like what you do or whatever, but you haven't increased the level of importance in their mind, and therefore they can't find a logical reason to pay you what you're asking. and therefore for them, you're not worth it anymore. So I think that the drive and the hunger towards being a like, getting your prices to $100 is an admirable thing, but you just got to do it with respect towards the clientele and respect for yourself. Like, you got to understand what you're willing to lose if you do something. And I think it's a good point to bring up too, D, and you could kind of let me know how you feel. how m- I don't even know if I want to ask it like this. Like, I was about to say, like, how much do you think barbers should increase their prices at a time? Because I'll say this. I'll put it like this, and this is me kind of like answering the question. But when it comes to price increases, do you? Okay, and now I know how to say it. Do you feel that barbers are becoming greedy when it comes to price increases? Do you feel that barbers are becoming greedy? Why or why not? Because it could be like, nah, we ain't being greedy. But then at the same point in time, you might have a different perspective to share.
Um, I think your question is a catch 22. Reason why is because it's like I can see where you're going with it. Why you asking if barbers are being greedy, but I can also see the flip side of that and say that no, I don't feel that they are being greedy. I feel that a barber should charge according to their work, their worth, their skill set, their demand. It's a lot of different factors that could go into why a barber charges more, why they go up, why they increase. Um, you have to make a living. So if the market is going up, I'm not talking about the barbering industry, but if the uh, cost of living is going up in your area, that's a reason to go up because you're trying to stay, line in line with the cost of living in your state, your city, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would say that there's not a definitive answer for that question. Some people do go up out of greed. I mean, it just
Yeah.
is what it is. They feel like this is what I deserve. I'm charging this, you know. But there's some people who they have legitimate reasons for why they're going up. It's because they're so invested into the craft. They're so invested into getting better that it kind of justifies their price increase. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Nah, I think I agree. I agree. I think that barbers should just be I want to say considerate, or
Hmm.
and not considerate like you have to. I don't know how to. I really don't know how to say it. But the thing that's coming to my mind, I'll just be just blatant with it, is barbers. We do have to understand that people are going to be impacted by your decisions.
Hmm.
So when you make decisions, you don't. I would suggest that you don't do it from a place of greed. You don't do it simply because you want more money, because that raises the question from the client. Well, what are you doing to deserve more? Like, even in the corporate world, you can't just ask for a raise just because you want a raise.
Hmm.
Like, it's based, like, the reason why you're asking for a raise most likely is because you realize that the level of work that you're doing, you're not getting paid for. Like, I'm doing more than what my job requires, and therefore I would like a raise. And in our space, sometimes we'll go up on our prices and not change one thing.
Hmm.
Like, nothing is different. You're doing the exact same thing. You haven't leveled up at all, but you're just gonna go up because and it and it, like, you don't even have the demand to do it. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, you don't even have people on your books for 2-3 weeks straight where people can't get in, and if a no show happens to you or somebody cancels last second, people are beating the door down to try to get in. You don't even have that. You just saying,
Hmm.
hey man, everybody else is charging this much. I don't want to be the low man on the totem pole, and you just go up. but there's no real reason behind it. And you can't go up because of what everybody else is doing. It
Right.
has to be a personal decision based on personal reasons why you're going up. And it could be things outside of barbering, life responsibilities, all of that stuff, like you said, cost of living. But I just think that the perception of it from a clientele's perspective, it can be based on greed. And it's felt when a barber does it like that. When they
Yeah.
do it based on greed, it's felt.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of what you just said, so I know somebody, no specific names, but you and I both know who I'm talking about. Um, so his whole thing is to try to get barbers to go up, which is, hey, that's great, but it comes at a great cost because of if you're constantly increasing your price every week or every month, then yeah, you can get new clients, but I also feel that you have to pay attention to the area that you're cutting in as well as, your demand, like you just said. But um his thing is basically, in a nutshell, his thing is that the area doesn't matter. I, to some degree, disagree with that because if you're in a state where the minimum wage is low or people not getting paid a lot, then you can price yourself out.
Hmm.
Especially if you're trying to jump the gun too early and you come in straight out of school and you want to charge $50, $60 for a cut. Hey, you got to build a demand to be able to do that. You don't
Yeah.
just charge that much because you're licensed, or you don't just charge that much because you have a booking app. Like, if, like you said, my demand, I can just speak for myself personally. Like, I started off at 15 for adults, 10 for kids. Of course, that was 10 plus years ago, but every year I um I seek to go up on my pricing. That was because I was putting in the work and I was, trying to build the demand, build my clientele. Then eventually I got to a point to where I am now, and I'm still booked 2, 3 weeks out, even sometimes 4 weeks out. But it's because the demand is there, even though I went up on my pricing, but the demand is letting me know, like, hey, this is okay. Now, if I
Yeah.
wasn't booked like that, then it would be like, okay, we might have to either make an adjustment or, something got to shake, because at that point
Yeah.
you're going to price yourself out because, like I said, you can be in a certain state, and we'll talk about that too. But I know typically, just because I'm familiar with California, a lot more people make more money. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I
No, you're
believe
right.
a lot more people make a lot more money
It does depend on where you at in California, though.
depending on where you at.
Like
Right.
where I'm at, I'm in the Bay Area, so minimum wage is like almost $17.
Right. Whereas
That's
minimum wage where I am is like $8, bro. It's
Are you
like half of that.
serious?
Yeah, it's still like $8. I could be wrong, but we have not reached double digits.
Hold on, man. Let me look. Let
You
me
you
let me
want
look
Google it?
up.
Let's
I'm
Google
about
it.
to Google minimum
Man,
wage in California.
I stand corrected, but I believe that Louisiana has not hit double digits in minimum wage, bro. But you
Nah,
know,
that can't be real, man. So right now I'm looking at Google. Y'all can see if y'all looking. I'm on Google. Um, so minimum wage as of January 2023 is $15.50, and
for
so
who?
that for this is California.
Okay,
This is California. Let me see
because
Louisiana.
I can guarantee you that it's not double digits in Louisiana. Like I said, I stand to be corrected. But I don't,
Mm.
what would it say? Talk to the people.
Oh,
What it say?
it says legislation.
You could tell by the disgust on his face.
It says legislation that would raise Louisiana's minimum wage to $10 an hour next year, meaning 2023, um, and up to $14 per hour by 2028. It says Louisiana is one of the 21 states that sets its minimum wage with federal rate, which is $7.25 per hour, bro.
So we haven't even hit 8 yet.
Y'all haven't hit 10 yet, but like overall, the average is about $7.24. That's ridiculous.
So we half of y'all, a little bit under half of what California is. Now, of
Yeah.
course, the cost of living in California is more expensive, but I believe you can correct me if I'm wrong. Y'all car insurance, all of y'all insurances are cheaper out there than
Oh, I don't
Louisiana.
know. Not my rate.
No,
Not my rate.
I don't know. You might be a bad driver, man.
That's what
But
they consider me,
a
but I
lot
don't
of
believe it.
so the cost of living here in Louisiana isn't balanced upon what the minimum wage is. Now there is people who have good jobs, but in Louisiana you either have to be an entrepreneur in the medical industry or in the plants. For those you don't know what a plant is, there's refineries.
Mm.
So and luckily I do have a lot of clients that are in the refineries or they're in real estate because real estate has grown to be a big thing now. Everybody's trying to get into real estate, whether it be residential or commercial. But my point is you have to read the temperature in your area. You can't just be going up for no reason. You have if you're gonna go up, it has to be effective, but you also kind of have to keep in mind your clientele too. Because
Yeah,
you will
what
price some people out or and I know what you're about to say, but you will price some people out, or you will find yourself cutting some of your loyal people less. Now, I agree with what Brad about to say, though. So I
what
know what
was I
you're about
about
to
to
say.
say?
I'm gonna
No,
let
you
you go
got
ahead and have it.
no, you didn't turn into Cleopatra. What's her name? Miss Cleo. So you tell the people what I was about to say.
Nah, go ahead, bro.
Okay, now you don't want to fess up. All right, no, I was actually gonna agree with you. Um the one of the things that is also key is understanding how many new clients that you're getting per month. Like if you understand how many new clients on average you're getting per month, then there's a strategic way that you can increase your prices for the new people and not your old people, and then gravitate your old people into the new pricing. But you want to like it's almost like testing the market to see if you can get what you're asking for.
Hmm.
You can do that with new people, people that don't know about the old prices. They just know about this new price, and then do it like that as well. There's ways to do that, but I think that it's key to understand that demographic does, or where you are, location, it does play a part. But with today's society, man, and you can correct me if I'm wrong from your perspective, but location kind of doesn't matter from this standpoint, is that there's always going to be people, no matter what the minimum wage rate is, that have better jobs, that do have higher income than the average. They're
Hmm.
doing things that are beyond the average. And there's a lot of people like that. Like there's a lot of people, like for something to be an average, that means there has to be a lot of people above it and people below it.
Right.
So uh if you can learn how to attract the higher clientele, then you can do it. And you can do a lot of it through social media.
Yep.
You can do a lot of this through social media. How you present yourselves is going to attract the type of client that you want, so that you can charge the prices that you want, that'll allow you to live the life that you want. But yeah, what's your take on social media and its pull in regards to how people can get their clientele up in this conversation of pricing, right? What would you say? You a
So the
little blurry.
a little blurry
Yeah.
might be your eyes, bro. Nah,
Nah, nah, I'm clear on my side.
but just to is that better?
I don't know.
I
It's
don't know.
about the audio. Y'all can hear him
Man,
clear.
we gonna
He don't
roll
got
with
to
it.
be in focus.
Um, so to piggyback off of something you just said, like everything has a market. I'm a firm believer of that. Everything has a market. So, um, Mercedes Benz, for example, not everybody can afford a Mercedes Benz, but there's a lot of people who can afford a Mercedes Benz because they make the money. So it's the same thing with um with barbering or whatever business that you're in, everything has a market. If you're, I don't want to say lower standard, but if you're in the lower price range, there we go. If you're in the lower price range, there's a market for that. If you're in the middle price range, there's a market for that. And if you're in the higher price range, there's a market for that. So just like you got, Hondas on the road, Hondas
Yeah,
are made for specific people who can afford them. But Mercedes Benz and BMW, Audi, and all those other companies are made for people who can afford them too. So everything has a market.
yeah,
As far as building your clientele through Instagram or social media per se, and I'm actually I came into the industry right when social media started to pop. 2012, I think Instagram came out, or 2013 might have came out, but had it not been for Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat at the time, I don't know if people still use
mm,
Snapchat. It's kind of
I heard
forgotten
about
about.
it. I never used it.
But if it wasn't for those apps or social media being created, then I probably would have still been doing the word of mouth, depending on word of mouth, or passing out cards, or passing out flyers or whatever, that we had to do
Yeah,
back in the day to promote your business. But now everything can be promoted through social media. And with social media being such a large world, you can be discovered anywhere. Like, I see barbers stuff from Louisville, Kentucky. I don't know
yeah,
nobody in Louisville, Kentucky, but that's how small social media makes the world now. Is that people can find you regardless of your location. Like, I got people who drive to me from Baton Rouge. Some may drive from New Orleans. Some drive from Lake Charles. Is the world is small.
yeah,
So I'm thankful for social media because it helped me to be able to build my clientele a lot faster than I
yeah,
would have 10 years ago. Like, I think we might have mentioned it on episode 1, but I got licensed in 2011. I really started my first full year of barbering in 2012. I became a shop owner in 2014, the end of 2014. Like, that's unheard of. Like,
yeah,
I became a shop owner 2 years later, or 2.5 years later, after getting my license. And that's because of me being able to market myself on social media. My clientele grew a lot faster than they would have if I didn't.
yeah. And I like what you're saying because when you think about how fast you were able to grow and you were leveraging the technology that you had at the time, and we still got an Instagram and social media and all that stuff. When you were going up on your prices, it was because of different factors. You know what I mean? You had different reasons why you were doing it. You was able to, you saw the demand. Then you also you like noticed how good you got. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like you notice it, and because of social media, it allows you to use a barometer, or you're able to use other people to set your own expectations for
Hmm.
yourself. So when I was looking on Instagram, when I first, because I came to Instagram late, I'm not, I am old,
He don't like social media.
but I don't like social media. Like I'm 37, right? So that's old, but it's not like I'm not elderly at the same point in time, right? So, but when I got into the industry in 2007. That's when I got my license, and Vic the barber, I believe his name is Caking is Randy. These are all like classmates of mine that got super big on YouTube, but I wasn't even aware. I wasn't looking on YouTube, learning how to cut hair, and nor was I thinking about doing any type of tutorials. But they were blowing up.
Hmm.
They were blowing up. Those are some of the people that you watched
Hmm.
to get your skills set up. But social media has allowed all of us to grow at faster rates because you can see someone doing something different than what you're in your shop and where you are in your salon. Like, so you, because you are aware of more things, your mind can expand, and therefore your skill sets can expand as well, which also allows your pockets to expand.
Right.
And because you can learn better ways to do things, faster ways to do things, more quality ways to do things. And because you can do all those different things, it does give you the permission to learn, apply, and then, or I should say, invest, learn, and apply. and therefore then you can charge
Mhm.
because you've done the due diligence to increase what you're the value that you're given. And value is not dictated by you, it's dictated by what your clients find important. If they
Right.
find it important, then they'll tell you if it's worth it or not. They, because you could, like you said about your services, right? Somebody can be like, okay, oh, you do like an enhancement that stays for like 5 to 7 days. Some people is gonna be like, oh, that's cool. Other people are gonna be like, how much is that?
Uh-huh.
How much do you charge for that? And then it may be important to them, and they be like, okay, it's that's $30. All right, all right, do it. Let's do it. Let's do it because it's that important to them.
Mhm.
But for somebody else that ain't really tripping, they be like, oh, that's cool that you do that, man.
Yeah. Some
Keep
people just want a clean haircut. That's it.
yeah, and
They're not
it's
into all the other stuff, and that's cool.
that's cool, but it's what they find important is where they'll put their money.
Mhm.
And so we as barbers and as beauty professionals, we have to understand how to trigger or make the client understand that something is important to them. And if we can't increase the level of importance, it's going to be very for us to increase our prices because they won't deem it as important. They won't deem it as worth it because they don't find it important.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah. So I think those are some things to consider. But we're dealing with a serious scenario, man, because I do think that we have to be careful of the greed that I mentioned earlier, because when you are trying to grow too fast, you're going to put yourself in a scenario where you're always going to be chasing money because you're going to have to keep getting new clients
Mhm.
because you're going to lose the ones that you already had
Yep.
based on how fast you go up, how much you go up. And there's arguments for everything, but I'm with the consistent growth versus a jump to change.
Right.
I'm more with consistent growth. Like we were talking about last episode, I believe it was. We were talking about how clients grow with you if you allow
Mhm.
them to. So you can leave your clients, you know, and that's what I don't like personally is, some of the arrogance that's in the industry.
Yeah.
But at the same point in time, like I get it. It's like it's almost like we appreciate ourselves more than other people appreciate us, but you just gotta watch the arrogancy level that you may have
Because
because yeah,
it's no you without the people.
yeah,
Like I don't care how good you cut. If you don't have people, you don't have a business.
yep. I say if you're not cutting, you unemployed.
Yep.
You're not even
Yep.
employed by yourself. Like you
Nope.
can't pay yourself without the clients. So there is no Royal Lux Grooming without the clients of Royal Lux Grooming. There is no another level of barbering without the clients.
Mhm.
And so if I leave my clients based on how I view me, that's a very narcissistic approach
Mhm.
to, what I'm doing.
Right.
And I think that that can kind of hurt barbers more than it can help them. Even though they can chase a quick dollar, you won't be in the industry long.
No.
That's a either you're trying to grow so fast that you can get out, this is like a stepping stone towards something else, or you're just not having good business sense and knowing how to set something up for longevity.
Yep. It just all depends on what you want out of this.
Yeah,
You get what you put in.
you're gonna get what you put in for sure, man.
I kind of don't like the arrogancy either because it's kind of like people they forget, how they got to where they at once they reach that superior level. It is a superior level as far as
Mm,
like skill set and your marketing. Like that's great. But you can't be so into yourself that you feel like you don't need anybody. Like I'm gonna do this with you or without you.
yeah,
That's just not a you don't want to make people feel like that.
yeah,
Like at the end of the day, this person may be a client, but they still have feelings too.
yeah,
So, if you treating them like they don't matter, they just gonna go somewhere else.
yeah. And based on the way that it's portrayed in the industry, when you just stay looking at YouTube and Instagram, I think you said this a few episodes ago, is what's being promoted is the highlights. You
Mhm.
seeing a highlight reel of what people are really doing on a day-to-day basis. But with that, if you are living your life on highlights, then you won't ever see the growth. Like you'll never see the growth process for you even to get the highlight.
Right.
And that's just, it's a recipe for disaster at the end of the day, if you want to be successful in this industry.
Yep. I agree.
So when you think about the demographic that you deal with in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, what's that like, man? What's it like? Because like how did you deal with you going up on your prices in that element? Like were you even thinking about minimum wage at that time? What were you doing?
Uh, no. So just to clarify, Brad mentioned Baton Rouge, and I had him say Baton Rouge because a lot of you won't know what Gonzales is. So I'm in a city outside of Baton Rouge called Gonzales, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe I am the highest priced barber in my area. And to me, I didn't really have too many issues with going up just because of my skill set. People found that I was pretty cool guy that could cut. Um, they love the professionalism. They love how I'm always trying to elevate my craft, elevate, as a person. Um, I guess they feel that I add value to them. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
trying to say that in a non-egotistical way. Um, but they found value in me. So yeah, of course you're gonna have your people who don't like the changes in your business. They don't like the that you're elevating. I'll say that they don't like that you're trying to elevate because they're used to the same old same. Like in my area, um, if I'm not mistaken, I think the average price might be 25, 30,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty much double of that. But
Mm.
the thing in my area is people cut for quantity, or that was
Yeah.
the precedent before 2013. People cut for quantity instead of the quality. So it's like, cut as fast as I can, get you out my chair, put somebody else in the chair. And then for me, I feel that um because I seen people like Vic Damone on YouTube, and I had a chance to meet Richard Payne, Captain Smash, by way of somebody who we mutually know. Um I was able to see, and then also being around you too, I was able to see that quantity does matter, but not as much as the quality. Like you still
Mhm.
can make a lot of money doing the quality of a service. And that's what I started gearing my business towards, like just being more on the quality side than quantity. Yeah, I've had my time where I've cut two heads an hour or cut, and not that anything is wrong with that, 'cause I don't want to sound like I'm knocking anybody either. But for me personally, I wanted to focus more on quality based cutting, which would lead me to being able to charge more
Yeah.
because I'm giving more detail,
Yeah.
But I feel like I kind of helped move the industry in my area forward. Me and Trey, I don't want to just say me, but me and Trey, I feel like we both helped move the industry forward because it allowed other people to come into the Gonzales area and to be able to charge more. They wouldn't charge the same as me and Trey, but they would maybe stay under us. But it helped it helped us doing what we was doing helped them to get more money in their pocket because either
Yeah.
we would go up and some our people would fall off to them because they charged just as much, but they stayed under us. If that
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So um I like it, man. I always challenge myself, like, hey, look, I'm doing this year, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And so far it has worked for me, but I didn't jump straight in and was like, hey, I'm charging this.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I knew that just from good business sense and just good common sense that that's not logical. Like
Yeah.
you have to pace yourself. you can't
Yeah.
you can't come into this and want to run 100 miles an hour. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
I had to pace myself. I had to work on my skills. I had to work on professionalism. I had to work on a numerous amount of things before I could start making an increase. Then I had a barber who we worked under, and he was like, "I charge this. This is what y'all should charge." All right, cool. I never had nobody tell me that before. And after that, me and Trey just kind of started seeing, hey, look, man, the people are telling us because we would always get tipped like 10, 15, sometimes $20 above what we was charged on a consistent basis by certain people. So it was like, man, maybe this is where we need to be at price point wise. And then we just slowly took it that way. And then I'm at the price point now where I'm pretty much content. I have higher services, but my average price point, I'm
Yeah.
content with it.
Yeah. So there's a few things that I want to highlight of what you said. I'm a first go. What, you got something else?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm a first highlight. Let me say what you said so I can make sure I get it out of my head. So first was like the quantity, quality. I want to say something about that,
Hmm.
and then you also you spoke about tips and using tips to understand your price gauge. So I want to ask you a question about that. All right, but one thing that you said about I want barbers to understand, like, there's different um customers that you're gonna go after. And the reason why I say customers is because those are new people.
Hmm.
Customers are people that you don't have a relationship. Last episode we talked a lot about customers versus clients and building relationships with them. But uh customers is who you're going after. These are like your new people that you want. And you do need to understand the business model that you're in. And if you don't know what business model you're in, I'm gonna explain the three types of business models that you can have. So one of them is quantity based, where you have a quantity based business model. You're looking at trying to see how many people can you get into your chair before the day is over, right? You may not, most of the time you don't have appointments, but you're walk-in based and you're trying to see how many people you can do in a day. So that's like the quantity perspective. And there's a certain price point that goes with that business model because it's all based on convenience for the client. Then you have quality based, and quality based, it'll typically start off with at least having a booking platform where your now your time matters. Like quantity based, your time don't matter. You're just kind of open when you're open and people come. But quality, it shifts into where your time matters because now people have to get in where they fit in. They can't just come whenever they feel like it on the day that they feel like it and expect to get in. So there's a certain level of quality that one, the barber has to be able to provide, but then also a certain level of person that can set appointments and be there. And then you have experience based business model. And the experience based business model deals with the business that pays attention to the details of every aspect that the client touches their business. So they find value in the whole process that a client goes through to get to them, as well as while they're with them, as well as after that person leaves. And the reason why this stuff is valuable, and those are the three different business models, is because you get paid for how much attention you give to the details that matter to people. When you pay attention to more details, people have more ways that they can appreciate you versus it's just based on convenience. Like, you hear when I came, cool, great, thanks, bro. Let me, you got me in, you got me out. That's a
Hmm.
level of detail that, a lot of people do it. Like, some business models have made millions of dollars with that mindset or that business structure because their focus is to get as many people in as possible and get them out as quickly as possible. And the more people you can do, the more money you can make.
Hmm.
And so those are just three different business models to pay attention to and kind of guide yourself on where do you want to be, because uh there's three different price points. It's like the low end price point, but you can make a lot of money based on how fast you work. Then you
Hmm.
got mid, which is quality, and you're focused on the level of detail that you apply to your service, but even your time now matters. Like, how much time do you give to for people to get onto your schedule and and book different services with you. Then you have the experience where the business is paying attention to every aspect that the client touches their business and making sure that there's value at each touch point. And therefore, because now the client can be like, man, I appreciate this about them. I appreciate this about them. I appreciate this. And this is all a part of your business structure. Then when they pay you, they understand why they're paying
Mhm.
you, you know. And most of the time when you really do provide a lot of value at different touch points, then if you do it right, they'll still feel like they're winning. They'll
Right.
feel like, man, like you deserve more than what I'm giving you, but I'm glad you're only charging this much. And for everybody else that they deal with or whatever, they know they could go to another barber and get something quick done, but it ain't they don't got the same level of detail. There's not
Right.
that level of professionalism like you talked about. There's not that level of attention to detail to the products that they use, to the equipment that they use, to the way that they communicate with you, how they make you feel comfortable, the music that's in the room, the smell that's in the room, the way that they there's so much that goes into an experience that you give. It's not just the fact that, oh, my cuts is fire.
Right.
And you'd
You
be
can
like,
get
oh
a good
yeah,
cut anywhere.
yeah, you can get a good cut a lot of places, but a lot of people do not know how to give a honest experience. They think that
Mhm.
the quality of the haircut or the service that they provide is the experience, and that's false. That's fake news. If you go
Right.
operating and you thinking like that, newsflash, that's wrong, because you're using a word that doesn't apply to what you do.
Right.
Experience, you're not giving an experience, you're giving a great haircut,
Mhm.
and that's not the experience alone. But I'm sorry, this ain't no class, this ain't no course. So uh what was we, oh, the tips. Other thing I wanted to ask you a question on was, do you feel that the amount a person tips or people are tipping, do you feel like that's a gauge for barbers to go up on their prices? And what's your perspective on that?
So I would say it depend on um it depends on where you're at, like in your in this stage in your career. And the reason why I say that is because for me, getting tipped consistently, like 15, 10, $20 above what I was charging, and it wasn't just like one or two people doing that. It was many people doing that. And then also hearing, man, you know you too good to be charging this little. You should go up.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to, and I didn't do it right away. When I sat back and reflected on how many people was really telling me this, and how many people was tipping me above my price. Because I mean, this is the thing about tips, and I stand to be corrected, but people don't have to tip. Your price is your price. So the fact
Yeah.
that people are tipping me that much above my set price, to me it was a gauge for, hey, maybe I need to go up. And I didn't go up, 15, $20 at one time. It might have been $5 here, $5 there, each year. But eventually I got to the point where I'm at now. And I have clients who, who told me, man, they pay me 60 because, or they pay my price because they value me. Like, yeah, they can go elsewhere and, pretty get a pretty decent cut. But the amount of attention to detail that I give for each person, like just for instance, knowing that I would tell some clients, hey, look, I know you want this, but I think this cut will look really good on you. And they'd be like, okay, let's try it. And then when I do this specific cut on them, they're like, man, you know what? You was right. I never had a barber tell me that, make me change my style, but I actually like this a lot.
Yeah.
And that was a tactic I got from Traven. Traven would talk people into getting certain haircuts, and it worked. So I was
Yeah.
like, hey, look, it's working for him. I'm gonna do it too.
Yeah.
But just little things like that. People notice that you pay attention to them and their needs. And, a lot of people, especially I don't want I don't want specific, I don't want to call out a specific area, but a lot of people tend to just look at this as a job. I'm just cutting hair. I ain't
Mm-hmm.
trying to do no extra. I ain't trying to go above and beyond. This is what I charge. You book me, this is what you get. And that's cool if you feel that way. That's how you run your business and it works for you. But for me, I just wanted to give a little bit more as far as my attention to detail because really I'm an artist. I've been, drawing or involved with music some type of way. I just like art, and I picked up the Clippers at 17, and I kind of got away from the pencil and pad, and cutting hair became my new form of art. That became my
Hmm.
new way of drawing. So I'm a visionary. If I see something on somebody, if I see a head shape or I see a hair texture, I can be like, man, I would do this to that person. Or I could be when I
Yeah.
go places. I don't know if you do this, but when I go certain places, the first thing I look at, bro, I look at the hair. I'm like, man, that's a nice cut. Or I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
they need to come to me. Like I could have done, I would have did this differently. I would have done that, but you know, um, that's some of the gauges I use for justifying my price raise. But to answer your question, like for me, getting those tips consistently was like, okay, this is kind of the direction that we need to be heading towards.
Yeah. For me, I'm on a different plane. I don't you said it where it comes to like the tips is based on gratitude, just to like simplify it. You was just like, people don't have to tip. And I'm with that. Like they don't have to tip. And your price is your price. Your price is going to be your floor, right? It's what you stand on. But they don't have to tip. Clients don't ever have to tip. And I've had many clients be like, hey man, like you never bring up tips, whether I tip or don't tip. Like even if people tipping me and they tipping me a good amount of money, the answer is the same for everybody. I'd be like, thank
Mhm.
you, man. I appreciate that.
Yep.
With every tip, somebody be like, hey man, I only had such and such. I'm gonna get you next time. I'd be like, man, don't even trip, man. Thank
Mhm.
you. I
Yep.
appreciate this. And so for me, always gauged my I've never used tips to gauge my price points because tips for me is just an acknowledgement of gratitude. They
Mhm.
just telling me that they're grateful. Uh, I understand that my price point is really how I can gauge how much money I'm making. And so I actually separate tips from income. When I look at the end of my week or whatever, when I look at how much I made, I deduct the tips from it. And then from that money, I can now say, all right, this is what I need to make sure that I pay my bills with. This is what need to make sure that I'm saving from. This is what I need to make sure. Like all of my life is surrounded around the money that I'm charging off the services that I performed.
Mhm.
Um, but the tips, that's just extra money.
Right.
And so I do other stuff with that. But um, I actually got, never mind, I'm not gonna say that. So yeah, I don't use the tips as a gauge because like I said, tips is based on gratitude, and those fluctuate, man, based on what a person can do in that
Right.
moment and what they can't do at that moment. Different things can happen. They could just got like a stimulus check or something like that. They feeling frisky and want to just go off and give you a huge tip because
Right.
they like you, but you can't plan your life off that,
Right.
and so it's a little bit different for me. So when I think about price adjustments, that's what I call them to my clients. I'd be like, oh, there's gonna be a price adjustment, and they'd be like, you ain't gonna ever adjust down, huh? No sir. So when I think about it though, I always try to change something about my business to show the value difference.
Mhm.
So there's always something that I'm doing to make sure that when this change happens, when the price adjustment happens, that they've already experienced a change that they like and they
Mhm.
don't want to miss. It's just like, man, I like that you do this now, whatever we want. And then they all into it. And then next thing they know, there's been a price adjustment. And a lot of times though, like I said, man, when you allow your clients to grow with you, they really don't hold on to the yesterday's price. They realize that today's price is not yesterday's price, and they're
Mhm.
willing to go with it because you're not the same person.
Right.
Today's Delmar is not yesterday's Delmar.
Right.
Delmar has leveled up. Delmar has elevated. Delmar has improved. And so I need to adjust accordingly because I want to stay with you. Like I like what you're doing, and I support you, and I support where you're going, and therefore I'll make the adjustments in my life necessary to make sure that I can keep my image the way that I want to, and I want you to be the person to provide me with that.
Yep.
But yeah,
And
man. So
this,
this was good, man. What
yeah,
you feel?
oh, I was just about to take charge, man. You know, you usually end the episode, and I was just trying to do a little something different.
Oh man, feel free to exercise yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, today has been I really appreciated this episode as always. It's always good talking with you, my brother. And you know, I hope you all, you know, could understand and see where we coming from. I hope you all could relate to, you know, some of the things that were said. I hope you can take it and apply it to yourself. And you know, we welcome feedback too. If you're on YouTube, you know, give us some feedback. You can message us either at Brad. You'll have to drop your handle, but
Oh yeah, the business minded barber. You can hit me on the business minded barber. That's Instagram.
and you can message me, the Prince, or you can um, shoot us a DM at Elevated Barbers Podcast on IG. But we appreciate you all listening. This is
Mhm.
the Prince with my co-host Brad.
Absolutely. It's time to level up.